Why don't we get this virtual session
Yeah.
going?
Mhm.
I wanted to welcome everybody into this new and unique thing that we're doing, and big thanks to Junwin and all the other organizers that put this together because it's really quite incredible.
Mhm.
We're gonna play some tunes for the next 90 minutes, I guess, and what we'll do is pass it back and forth. So Dave and I will play some tunes, and then Rob and Leith will play some tunes, and then Philomena will tell a story, and then we'll kind of go around like that. So there is a chat room, and if you have any questions or anything, I don't know whether we'll be able to answer them, but you can put them there and see what we do with them. Um, so why don't we? I'll just maybe we will start by Dave and I introducing ourselves a little bit. So we play mostly Irish tunes. I want to say right from the start that usually we play with other people. We
Mhm.
don't usually just play the two of us.
Sometimes.
Sometimes we play by ourselves, but it is a lot of fun to play with other people. That's the most fun to be had. So that's what we usually do. But tonight, of course, is a little bit different. So we've been playing Irish music together for probably about 10 years, I think. Um, yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
Okay, so that's the end of our turn. How about Leith and Rob? Do you want to
Yeah.
say?
You have to spotlight us.
Yeah, so that's
Oh,
Dave's job. He's
Yeah.
we're slick. We're slick.
Yeah.
spotlight.
No, you're on ours, so you have to go on
Oh,
theirs.
my glasses have to work too.
There we go.
There
There's
we
a
go.
lot of
This
things
down.
that have to be
Hi,
in a
folks.
Hi.
I'm Rob McGregor, and this is Leith Davis, and we're going to play tunes as well, and maybe sing a couple of songs.
So
And we do have to highlight the beautiful quilt in the background because my sister-in-law Kim McGregor made that in Ottawa because we thought we'd use it. What do you?
yeah, it's a great quilt. Yeah, and we also play in a band called the Sybaritic String Band, and we play for dancing. So this is really music that is very community based, and we encourage people to join in, but please mute as you join in. You can dance or
Or
do a
sing
little
or play
drumming or
tunes or
sing
whatever you
or
like.
whatever you want to. It's really, as Marilyn was saying, it's music that's really designed to be done together. But because of the remote weirdness that happens when everybody plays together, we can't do that. So we're taking turns kind of going back and forth and playing a set of tunes and then passing it over to the next person. So
I
with
think it's
this,
about enough for us. And
yeah,
how about Philomena saying hi?
we will just spotlight you, Philomena.
There you
Oh
are.
my God, I'm in the spotlight. Yeah, it's my very favorite thing to be, really. Welcome everybody. This is Philomena here, and I'm going to be sharing some stories, some Irish stories, and a poem. And this is my first time doing stuff on Zoom, so this is going to be an interesting experience. And I'm so delighted to be part of this. And I belong to a group called the Vancouver Tellers, and we meet once a month from October to May, and we've been doing our virtual storytelling the last few months. And yeah, and I can share more about that later if anyone needs to know more about it. Okay, so I guess we'll get started here. So back to Marilyn.
Mute myself. There we go.
I think we're live.
I think we're live. Okay, so we're gonna get started with a set of jigs. So we'll do a couple of jigs together here. Okay, ready?
Ready?
right. That was nerve-wracking. Okay, now we got all the bugs out.
All warmed up. Yeah.
All right. It's really it's a different experience doing it by
Yes,
yourself
on video.
in the quiet.
Yes.
Okay, so this is a set of reels, kind of slowish reels. We're
Slow
going to keep
reels.
them
That's right.
nice and slow.
Slow.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Okay. Well, thank you. Over to Rob and Leith. I will spotlight you guys.
You unmute. You're muted.
Sorry.
There, we'll try that
There,
again.
let's try
Thank
that
you,
again.
Philomena.
Yeah.
So those were great tunes, guys. Thanks so much. I was just saying we are just a few houses away, and we usually get together and play some music. And Rob and I also play for a dance band. So we're going to play 3 dance tunes. This is Miss Monahan's, Miss Thompson's, and Miss Shepherd's. And when we play them with a whole band with Claire McKay and Rich Sobel, we call this affectionately the Spinsters set because they're all called misses.
And
So.
it's also Mrs. is an inappropriate terminology in today's world.
It is.
Not?
I'm not
It
sure
should
if
be the
spinster
Mrs.
is particularly appropriate.
Spinster's
anymore.
not great either, but the tunes are still great. So
So again, these are dance tunes, so please feel free to move.
we expect dancing, actually.
Start again.
Try that again. You ready?
Okay.
Okay. Go for it. Okay.
Well, that's pretty different. Okay, so those were some reels, a set
So
of three reels.
we're doing the opposite thing. Like Marilyn and Dave said, some jigs and some reels, and we're
We're
going to
doing
do
some
some
reels
reels
and
and
some
some jigs.
jigs.
But we'll
Yeah.
get to other kinds of tunes later. We got a couple of things up our sleeve which are a bit different, and we got a couple of songs too that we'll do as we get into this. You know, Leith and I like music from all over the place. Ireland, Scotland, Brittany. We're going to play some Breton tunes later. We've got a tune from Scandinavia as well. We got a couple of songs, one of which is from the American South, Appalachia. So we're a little
Ozark,
bit,
if anyone's watching that
we're
series.
what you call eclectic. Yeah,
Okay.
I suppose. But we're going to do some Irish, these are all Irish reels, right?
These are jigs,
Or
yeah. But
jigs,
they're,
I'm sorry.
yeah, they are Irish. This is Rose and the Heather, Miller's Maggot.
I like the sound of that. I'm an entomologist, so I like maggots.
A maggot is actually a dance, but
Oh, there you go.
unfortunately not an insect larva. And then the last one we're going to do is the mist-covered mountains.
So anybody knows the tunes, you should be playing it along at
Grab
home with
grab
your
an
mute,
instrument
with your
and-
mute on, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do some jigs, and you know what we're going to do after that? Philomena's going to tell us a story, and that's going to be great. A story maybe from the west of Ireland, but we don't know. She'll tell us about that in a minute. But here's some jigs for you, and please dance if you want. Okay.
Sorry.
Start that again. Got to get it right. that's it for us. For
Okay. Hi, everybody. So, yeah, some of those tunes have such great names. I'm sure there's a story there somewhere. So my first story is one my grandmother used to tell, and she lived close by us down in the west of Ireland. And on the road up to her house, there was a hill on the road going into her house. And at the top of the hill, there was a grove of trees. Now, this is the story she used to tell us when we were growing up. And there was a gap going into that grove of trees. And that's where the spirit used to stand every night. She was a poor traveling woman. And something must have happened to her. She must have got a kind of a weakness going up the hill one day. And she went in under the grove of trees to get a bit of shelter for herself. And nobody found her until she had died. And so her ghost used to stand there every night. And she was holding something out in her hand. And everyone in the village knew that it was a ghost that was in it. And nobody would go up or down the road at that time of the night. Now there was a young man who lived in another village, and he was down in the pub one night with some of the young lads from my grandmother's village. And he was fond of a drop or two. And when he had a few drops taken, the young lads started to tease him and make fun of him and say, "Oh, you'll have to go round the long way tonight by the old churchyard." "Well, I will not," says he. "I will not go round the long way by the old churchyard when it's 50 ghosts I might see. One ghost is better than 50. And sure, I heard she was a very decent woman when she was alive." And off he went down the road, and he climbed up the hill, and there she was, and her holding the thing out in her hand. And the brave man, he went up a bit closer to look at what it was. And wasn't it a snuff box? Oh, it was a beautiful thing with beautiful ornaments and pearls on it. And didn't he reach out and take a pinch of the snuff out of the box? "Banach Jeelish Jele Hanam Namarov, the blessings of God on the souls of the dead," says he. And he took the pinch of snuff. Well, she never said a word, but she held out the box again. And again, he took a pinch of the snuff and he said the prayer. And a third time, she held out the box. And a third time, he took a pinch of the snuff. "Banach Jeelish Jele Hanam Namara, the blessings of God on the souls of the dead." And he took the pinch of snuff. And then she spoke. "'Tis something I did when I was alive that has kept me in purgatory until someone would come along and pray for my soul 3 times. And you have done that for me now. And you have set me free. And as a reward, I will give you the snuff box. And it will never be empty as long as you never tell anyone where you got it." And then she was gone. And she was never seen in the village again. And that young man had that snuff box for quite a long time. And every time, no matter how many pinches of snuff were taken out of it, it was always full. And I can tell you now, many is the pinch of snuff that was taken out of that box. People were always after him for a pinch of snuff. And people were always after him, wanting to know, where did you get it? And as I already told you, he was fond of a drop. And as my grandmother would say, when he had a few drinks inside him, he had a loose mouth. And one night, down in the pub, he told everyone where he got the snuff box. And from that day on, it was empty. He couldn't keep his mouth shut, she would say. But if he did, we wouldn't have this story now, would we? And then she would always end her story by saying, you should always say the prayer for the dead if ever anyone gives you a pinch of snuff or a pipe of tobacco to smoke. Banach Jeelish J Le Hanam Namara. And that is the story of the snuff box. Yeah, now we go back to Marilyn, yes.
There we go.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks, Philomena.
That
Yes.
was a great story. It's so captivating when you tell stories. It's like, oh, I just cannot get
sure.
right wrapped into them. So that's really nice. So I there's lots of neat things going on in the chat room, and one of them was a request for musicians to please post their set list, which we can do. But I thought maybe I would just say a couple of things about.
Only joining, just give him a second.
Oh, I think Junwin, you think you need to mute maybe.
How do you turn
Anyway.
the sound? It seems like these people are.
Yeah, Junwin, we can hear you. Okay, there we go. Anyway, I'll tell you the names of the tunes that we were playing. But the first one, I probably should have told you a little story about it, because the very first thing that we played, the sets of jigs. The first one was called but so there was a very famous fiddler who was playing to an audience, and there was a woman in the audience who thought he was really quite handsome. This was probably in the 1930s or something like that, I guess. And so she sent her friend down to ask him if he was married. And so he played the tune in response, which is Tell Her I Am. So that was the name of the first tune. The name of the second tune that we played is called Gallagher's Frolics, but it's also called Tell Her I Will. So that was the set that he played, actually. First Tell Her I Am, and then Tell Her I Will. So just a little story about that one. So what we're going to do now, I don't know if I'm yelling or not. I always get Zoom voice because I probably talk louder than I need to. Mm-hmm. A lot of the tunes that we play and that Rob and Leith play are very, very traditional. They've been around for a long, long time, and lots of people know them. But there are more recent tunes that come up too. They're also very beautiful. So the next set of tunes that we're going to play, the first one's called My Mind Will Never Be Easy. And I'm not actually sure whether that's traditional or whether it's more recent. The second one, though, is called Garrick's Wedding, and that's quite recent. Written by one of the chieftains, one of the people in the band, the Chieftains. And the next one is a very recent one called Farewell to Wally Range, and it was written by a flute player named Michael McGoldrick. So they're slip jigs. So they're in 9/8, and so dancers, they're very specific dances that Irish dancers have. So this is these are all slip jigs. So okay. We give it a try.
hear a flute.
I hear a flute.
Ah.
Not from our house. It's very nice flute.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, that was Junwen. Okay.
That was June.
All right.
I think that's from another room. I know there's a very nice flute player, a very good flute player in one of the other rooms, but I shouldn't tell you because you might go over there.
All right.
Anyway, yeah. So that was those were some slip jigs, and now we're going to do a little bit not unusual, but we wouldn't do this in a session, or we wouldn't do it if people were dancing to it, because we usually. You put the same type of dance together. So you do 3 jigs together or 3 reels together so that people can dance to it. But what we're going to do is 1 march and 1 reel.
Are these barn dances?
Yes.
Ah, these are barn dances.
Never mind. These are both barn dances. The march is coming later. These are both barn dances. Okay. Oh, and the first one is called Bill Malley's and the second one's called Kilnamona. Okay.
All right.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna mute myself and make Leith and Rob big. I can't read that. Where is it? Spotlight video. There we go.
Well, I can't see myself. I'm
Those are
blocked by
great
other people's
tunes.
faces.
Listening to you guys is just making me miss playing music all together so much. So, but it's great to see everyone, and hope you're all getting a chance to play along or dance or sing or whatever to the music, because it's great community music. We have to do the best that we can to make community even remotely.
So I've got a couple of things to say.
You do that.
First of all, a lot of you may be wondering what this thing is that I'm playing. You might think it's a guitar, but it's not. And this is a beautiful octave mandolin that I had a friend of mine, Michael Hayden, up in Creston, BC, made this for me a year or two ago. So that's what I'm playing, and we're going to play. We're going to play a song now. We're actually going to play two recently, as Marilyn was saying, recently written tunes. They both sound like real old traditional tunes to me. And the first one is a song we're going to sing called I Once Loved a Lass by Karen Casey, who plays in a variety of bands in Ireland and various other places. And the other one is a waltz that we paired it with from Roger Tolrath, who plays in some bands in Scandinavia. So
it's called
Josephine's Waltz.
It's a very popular tune in contra dances, so people might know that. So.
We'll see how we do here.
Ready?
A 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I once loved a lass, and I loved her so well. I hated all others that spoke of her ill, and now she's rewarded me well for my love. She's gone to be wed to another. I watched as my love did to the church go, with bride and bridesmaids she made a fine show, and I followed along with my heart full of woe to see my love wed to another. I watched as my love did sit down to dine. She sat down beside me, and I poured out the wine, and I drank to the wee lass that should have been mine, but now she is wed to another. Oh, the lads of Forest, they asked it of me, how many strawberries roll round the salt sea, and I answered them back with a tear in my eye, how many ships sail in the forest. So dig a grave, all along, wide and deep, and covered all over with wildflowers sweet, and lay me down gently for to take my long sleep, 'cause that's the best way to forget her. So we dug him a grave, all along, wide and deep, and covered it all over with wildflowers sweet, and we laid him down gently for to take his long sleep, and maybe by now he's forgotten. That was our song.
you. Yeah.
What are we doing next?
So we're gonna follow that with some jigs. That was a sad song, lost love. So maybe some happy jigs.
It had wildflowers in it. Wildflowers are happy.
And strawberries. How many strawberries grow in the sea?
Around the salt sea, yeah.
Interesting.
Anyways.
A riddle. So these are some happy jigs. There's Christy Berries. There's Butlers of Glen Avenue.
I can't remember.
And
the mug of brown
the
ale.
mug of brown ale.
Maybe some of you are enjoying this Celtic kitchen party with a mug of brown ale, but we don't really know because we can't see most of you. We can see like 1 or 2 people.
Nice mug of brown
Should
Guinness.
allow somebody in. Somebody should allow that person in that's waiting in the waiting room right now.
Come in there.
Okay, here's Christy Berries. go. That was some jigs. So I think we need to.
Oh, what happened? What happened? Unmute myself. I did. Okay. All right. So I'm going to share a William Butler Yeats poem with you now. And Yeats was very fond of the county Sligo in Ireland because his mother's people were from there. So he spent many summers as a child with his grandparents in County Sligo. And he loved to hang out with the old people and to hear stories of the fairies. And I think there must have been an old man there who played the fiddle. So he wrote this poem called The Fiddler of Dooney. And there's a Dooney rock right outside Sligo town. And I can imagine Yeats climbing that hill. And he called his poem The Fiddler of Dooney. And I've discovered that there is now a fiddle competition in Ireland every year in Sligo called the Fiddler of Dooney competition. And of course, we have these great fiddle players here tonight, so I thought it was a good poem to share with you tonight. So this is called The Fiddler of Dooney. When I play on my fiddle in Dooney, folk dance like a wave of the sea. My cousin is priest in Kilvarnach, my brother in Machrabui. I passed my brother and cousin. They read from their books of prayer. I read from my book of songs that I bought at the Sligo Fair. When we come at the end of time to Peter sitting in state, he will welcome the three old spirits, but call me first through the gate. For the good are always the merry, save by an evil chance. And the merry love to fiddle, and the merry love to dance. And when the folk there spy me, they will all come up to me with "Here's the Fiddler of Dooney," and they'll dance like a wave of the sea. The Fiddler of Dooney. Thank you. And back to Marilyn, and I think they're going to do a rollicking fiddle tune after that.
Okay.
Okay, that was
Okay.
a little
Lovely,
less,
lovely poem.
that was a little less smooth than the transition than but just imagine the fiddle coming in at the end of the lovely Yeats poem. All right. that was kind of rollicking. Thank you, Philomena, for that lovely, lovely poem. Yeah, it's hard to transition smoothly from your lovely poem into the music, but there we go. So for anyone who's interested, those were all pretty traditional tunes. The first one was Rolling in the Barrel, and then the Tap Room, and then the Earl's Chair. So some of you may have recognized some of them. I don't know. So we're going to go back to doing some more recent ones. I'm going to have a little bit of water. Some more recent ones. The first one we're going to do two sets of jigs. The first one was written by a fairly contemporary writer named Vincent Broderick, and the second one was written by a fiddler originally from London. His parents were from Ireland, but now he lives in Portland, and his name is Kevin Burke, and he's a very well-known fiddler. If any of you have heard of the Body Band, he used to play with the Body Band. I didn't say their names. The first one is called the Last Train to Lochray, and the second one is called Across the Black River. They're a little bit tricky, so I hope they stay together. Anyway, here goes. I'll mute us and over to Robin Leith.
Thanks. Those were great tunes. Really fun.
We're not spotlighted. Oh, there we're
Very
spotlighted
spotlighted
now.
now.
Those are lovely tunes.
Yeah, really nice.
What we're going to do is a set of tunes that are kind of pan-American, kind of, except they're from different places.
Yeah, I
There are
guess.
two of them from Quebec originally, I think.
So, Grumbling Old Man, Growling Old Woman, which is from Quebec, and St. Anne's.
Which is from Quebec, but the funny thing is, Growling Old Man, Growling Old Woman, and St. Anne's are played by people in every fiddle tradition in North America, I think, including bluegrass. And then
we're
Miss
going to end it
McLeod's.
with a good old Scottish one, Miss McLeod's. So
Which is also Americanized too. In the
it
U.S.,
is.
they call it Hop High Ladies.
And it's Miss McLeod, and I think Mrs. McLeod maybe in Ireland. So
Miss McLeod of Ramsey,
it
right?
travels all around. So and the last one is a special one that goes out to all my friends in my other life. I direct the Center for Scottish Studies at SFU, so I think there's a couple of people there. So this last one, Miss McLeod, the Scottish one, is for you guys. Hi. All right.
Okay,
So-
the Growling Old Man
I need a little
first.
bit more room here because I think I'm
Oh.
kind of gonna bump into you.
We're trying to avoid injuries over here in the Celtic kitchen party.
It's a sort of
This one could be a little
a
bigger.
blood sport.
You're going to give me some... talking Scottish. Yeah.
It was. I did a step dance thing, playing the first two tunes, and it's not good to do when you've got Zoom and microphones and stuff like that around. So I hope it wasn't too thumpy. But
So Leith, you may not have noticed, but there was a dancer. Someone was dancing.
I
Oh, we
didn't.
missed that entirely.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's
That's
awesome.
very cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's great. Well, it's so weird playing for a screen, because normally we play for the Sybarites, a dance band, a contra dance band, and there's usually like, people out there dancing and they're ignoring the musicians. So this is very strange to
Yeah, and
just
we
do
hope
this
to
kind of
be
thing.
playing a dance. We play dances at the St. James Center once a month, but during COVID, there is no
There's no
possibility.
dancing, touching. Yeah.
Dancing involves a lot of touching of hands and various things, so it's not going to happen probably until the summer of 2021, I bet, at
We'll
the
see.
earliest. We'll
Anyway,
see.
I'm glad there's people out there dancing. That's awesome.
We got
So
a
we're going to
really
do another dance set, but it's a slow dance set. So we're starting off with a polska, which is a Scandinavian dance, and it's got it's almost like a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's got a little sort of lilt to it. And then we're going to go into two Breton tunes that are done in a dance, usually holding kind of fingers, just little fingers, and it's a kind of a trance dance. So it's a pretty simple tune, but just imagine a whole lot of people in a circle dancing around
or in a spiral for that matter.
or a spiral.
Sometimes it
Spiral
turns
would be
into a
good too.
spiral. So
Yeah. So polska and Breton tunes don't seem to have names. So there's this Breton 1 and Breton 2.
well, the other one doesn't have a name either. The
It's
Polska.
true.
We learned it
Yeah,
from a
yeah.
woman named Samaya Jackson, who's a fabulous fiddler that plays with Jamie Stone's band.
Yeah, we just loved it. So
Um, okay. Okay.
Very cool tunes, Robin Leith.
Yeah, I love those
That was
presentations.
great. Thank you, guys. That was great. Yeah, we're having so much fun. I hope we can go over time a bit, maybe. Anyway, so sometimes in stories, things are not always as they seem. And in the month of May, it's usually a time of new growth. Many fertility rites abound. And that's all I'll say right now. I'll just tell you my story. So, many, many years ago in Ireland, the tailor used to travel around the country, and he would set up shop at a farmer's house. He would get lodgings there, and he would set up his workbench, and people in the village would come, and he would make clothes for the farmer and his wife and their children, and for the people in the villages. And this tailor, named John Haggerty, he set off down the country, and he always stayed with this particular farmer that he liked. And didn't he find out that the man had died? So he thought he would come by the house anyway and give his condolences to the widow. But the widow woman said, "Oh, no, you can come and stay. You always like to stay here. You can stay. Your room is ready up in the loft there. You're very welcome to stay and set up your work here." And so he did. And he was working away, and the people were coming in to get their clothes made. And then the month of May came along. And one morning, didn't he hear, it was very early in the morning, and didn't he hear the splashing of water down in the kitchen? And he thought, "Oh, the widow woman is up already making the breakfast." And he got out of the bed and he looked out over the loft wall there, looked out down into the kitchen. But what he saw made him step back a bit, and he peeked over. And down in the kitchen, the widow woman had a huge tub, and she was running in and out of the yard with a bucket and filling it with water, because they had no running water, of course, in those days. And she would pour the water into the tub, out again for another bucket of water, filling up the tub. And every so often, she would go to the fire, pick up the tongs, and pick up a hot cinder from the fire and put it into the tub of water, and then out again for more water from the pump in the yard, until she had the tub of water filled. And then she stood, and with her hands out, she began to say all sorts of strange verses over that tub of water. And then, as the tailor stood up there with his eyes and his mouth wide open, didn't she suddenly whip off all her clothes, jump into the tub of water, splash herself, and when she rose up out of the water, and she turned into a great hare, a rabbit. She jumped out of the tub, ran out the door. And about a half an hour later, she returned, jumped back into the water, got her own shape back, put on her clothes again. Well, the tailor didn't say a word. He crept back into bed. And about an hour later, the widow woman called him for his breakfast. And he went down, and he never said a thing. The tub of water was gone. And he continued with his day's work. But the next morning, the same thing happened again. But as soon as she had gone out the door, he whipped off his nightshirt, ran down the stairs, jumped into the tub of water, and he too came out as a hare, and he ran out the door and he followed her. And on she ran with him following her up to the top of a hill. And it was a lovely grassy hill, and there was about 20 rabbits in a circle all around the hill. And then one very, very old hare stood up and he said, "There's nothing we can do here today. There is a stranger in our midst. So let you all go home now." And so they all took off running. And the widow woman was running, and the tailor was running after her. And she ran in the door of the house, and she jumped into the tub of water, and she came out in her own shape. And then she lifted up the tub of water as he started to come in the door, and she tipped it over. But lucky for him, he met the water coming out the door, and he was able to get his own shape back. And he ran up those stairs of the loft and into the room, and he had his clothes on in a second, and he grabbed his bag. And lucky for him, he was a smallish kind of a man. And he was able to climb out the small window of the room he was sleeping in, because the widow woman was down at the bottom of the stairs with a big kettle of boiling water, ready to scald him to death when he came down. Well, he took off running, and he had the length of that parish ahead of him before he stopped. And that evening he settled into another farmer's house, and he started making clothes for all the village. And then one evening, one of the kids climbed up, because the tailor used to sometimes sit up on the table, and the kid climbed up on the table to see. He was looking over the tailor's shoulder to see what he was doing. And then suddenly the little boy said, "Sir," he said, "oh, what's all that hair at the back of your neck there?" And when the tailor put his hand up, there was all this furry hair at the back of his neck. Well, the next day, he left that farmer's house, and he never returned to that village again either. And from that day on, winter or summer, he always wore a thick scarf around his neck so that nobody would ever see that hare's fur growing on his neck. And that's the story of the tailor and the hare woman. Back to Marilyn and
Hippity hoppity.
David. Hippity hoppity. Stop it.
This is so much fun. I'm just realizing
We're
like
basically
9
out of
o'clock
time, but
almost.
Yeah.
I think you guys should play a set of tunes, and we could sing a song, and then we'd be done.
Are we allowed to go over time? No.
We go a little bit over time, I wonder, or are we going to be shut
I had
down?
a whole other story, but
Well, let's keep playing until they turn off
Till
the
we get
mics.
cut
Turn off
off.
the lights, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, till we get have to check with
Do it. Do you want to do a set of tunes? Then we'll do a song and maybe go from there.
Sure, that sounds good
good.
to me. And Philomena says she has another story, but let's see if they don't cut us off. Let's just keep playing.
Yeah, we'll keep on.
Okay, so
So the set of jigs?
yeah, well,
Yeah.
did you want to do the other ones?
Nope.
Okay, so we'll do a set of jigs called one's called, I think they're all traditional. The first one's called The Orphan, and then Mist Covered Mountain, and then Rolling Waves. So okay. All right. Let's make.
Hello.
Yeah, having a party.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Leith, Rob, Marilyn, Philomena. Are you guys, how are you? Doing
We're
okay?
good.
You still have 18 participants. The event is officially over. It's 9 o'clock. So we're inviting everybody to join the dance party in the living room. Of course, if you feel like entertaining a little bit longer and people want to hang out with you, we're okay with that. But everybody's heading back to the living room for the dance party. So if you want to end the meeting and then join everybody there, or if you want to just do a few more tunes, it's up to you. I just want to thank you anyway. Thank you for keeping everybody entertained, and I will share the video with you. You know, we've been recording the session, so thank you very much.
And we need to thank you, Yunwen.
Yeah, this was great.
Yes, yes, big hand for June Wynn, Grant Withers, and everybody who
All
put
the
it together.
organizers.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm really happy that everybody had a good time and that everybody was able to have a good experience, because, you know, this was a big experiment. So I'm glad it went well.
It's incredible. Okay, June Wynn, I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about what a dance party is.
Well, it's gonna be just like, we're just playing dance music, like, you know, all kinds of tunes, and then people can just dance in
Okay.
their own house, in their own living room. So that's what it is. And Kalyan is DJing, so he's playing a little bit of Latin music, hip hop, a little bit of everything.
Okay.
All right?
All right. Thanks, June Wynn.
Okay, see ya.
We'll see how it goes. We've got a song we'd like to sing.
And it sounded like, Philomena, you have another story too. So if they're not going to kick us out,
Sure.
we could.
Do we want to keep
Okay.
Well, we could do a song,
Awesome.
and Philomena could do a story.
You guys carry on, and whenever you're done, you just end up the meeting. Okay?
Okay.
You still have 18 participants here, so people are ready to listen to you for a little bit longer. So take it away. Bye.
Okay,
Okay. Thanks so much, Yunwen.
I'll mute myself here.
We threatened earlier to do something from Appalachia.
Yeah,
and
this
is
is
from
it. We
there.
gotta
This is
do
a
this,
song
yeah.
from around the American Civil War, but also associated with a guy named Tommy Jarrell, who's a fiddle guru, who's passed away now, but back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, everybody and his uncle used to go visit him in North Carolina because he had this amazing fiddle style. But anyways, this is it's kind of a sad song. It's about getting to the end of life and that sort of thing. So,
Or it's about partings, but it's
partings.
about keeping things connected when you're apart as well. So I think it's actually really appropriate, and about the light that gets sent from one person to another. So
we'll see if we can send a little light to each
Yeah.
other here for you.
before the darkness.
Okay. I'll count you in.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2. As time grows near, my dearest dear, when you and I must part, how little you know of the grief and woe in my poor aching heart. Each night I suffer for your sake. You're the one I love so dear. I wish that I was going with you, or you were staying here. I wish my breast was made of glass, wherein you might be home. Upon my heart your name lies wrote in letters made of gold.
until my dying day. And when you're on some distant shore, think of your absent friend. And when the wind blows high and clear, pray night to me, pray send. And when the wind blows high and clear, pray send your love to me, that I might know by your hand light how time has gone with thee. The blackest crow that ever flew will surely turn to white, if ever I prove false to you. Bright day will turn to night. A bright day will turn to night, my love. The elements will roar, if ever I prove false to you. The seas will rage and burn.
Happy little song.
A cheerful little number.
All right. Have a little shot of whiskey here before I start. Thanks, that's a beautiful song. Woo. Oh. So this story comes from County Mayo, the west of Ireland too, where I grew up. And it's about this young couple. And they lived on a little plot of land that they had rented from the landlord. Now, the young man's parents lived with them. And like other people in the village, they had their troubles. The young man's mother had been slowly losing her eyesight over the years, and now she was totally blind. And the young couple themselves, they'd been married for 5 years and they'd been hoping for a child of their own, but no child had been born to them. But they did their best and made do with what they had, and they managed to keep food on the table and keep the family unit together. But then one summer's day, they found that a disease had come on the potato crop that was their main source of food. Now the young man knew that it was up to him to provide food for his family. And he knew that the only place he could get it was on the landlord's estate, where he might find some wild game to kill. But he also knew that if he was caught, he'd be hanged. But he was willing to take that risk for his family. So that evening he went out to his father's shed and he found an old hatchet and he brought it in and he cleaned it and he polished it and he sharpened it. And bright and early the next morning, he made his way down the road and he climbed in over the fence into the landlord's estate. All that day he roamed through the woods, down by the rivers, but he found no wild game that he could kill. He was just making his way back to climb over the fence again that evening, when suddenly he saw a white deer under the trees. He couldn't believe his eyes. He lifted up the hatchet and ran to strike the deer, but then the deer spoke. Spare me, he said. Spare me, and I will grant you a wish. Well, what was this, thought the young man, a talking deer, a wish? Well, he was just about to say something when the deer spoke again. Now listen, he said. If you kill me, you could be caught. And you know if you're caught, you will be hanged. But if you make a wish, it could save you and all your family. Why don't you go home and think about it and come back tomorrow? I will still be here if you want to kill me. Well, the young man climbed over the fence and made his way down the road home, thinking that the hunger had affected his mind. The first one he met in the yard was his father, and he told him about the deer and about the wish. Oh, wish for gold, said his father. That's the best gift of all. Well, the young man loved and respected his father, and he thought about what he said as he went in to the house. And there, sitting by the fire, was his blind mother. And he told her about the deer and about the wish and what his father had said. Oh, wish for my eyesight to be restored, she said. That's more precious than gold. Well, the young man loved and respected his mother too. And he thought about what she said as he made his way down to the room he shared with his wife. And he told her about the deer and about the wish and what his parents had said. Oh, you know, husband, that I love and respect your parents, but we've been wanting a child of our own for 5 years now. Surely that's the most precious gift of all. Well, the young man, he didn't know what he was going to do. Should he wish for the gold, or for his mother's eyesight to be restored, or for the baby that he and his wife had wanted so badly? Well, I can tell you now, he didn't sleep very well that night. He tossed and he turned, trying to decide what to do. And bright and early the next morning, he made his way down the road again, and he climbed in over the fence. And sure enough, there was the deer still standing under the tree. Well, said the deer, have you decided to make a wish? I have, said the young man. Then ask, and it will be granted to you, said the deer. And the young man took a deep breath, and he said, I wish that my mother could see my wife rocking our child in a golden cradle. And the wish was granted. And they lived in great contentment for many years, and they shared all their good fortune with all their neighbors in the village. And that is the story of the one wish.
That's fantastic,
Oh, wonderful.
Philomena. That's great.
Yeah,
Love it.
Thank you.
Clever.
Yes.
Spellbound here. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're sort of thinking maybe Marilyn and Dave could play a set of
Do you
tunes,
want
and
to
we'll
take
call
us
it a
out
day.
and
We'll call it a day after that, and people can go off to the living room. There's a dance party in the living room.
Yeah.
Party in the living
but
room.
maybe
And all dance after all the sitting, yeah.
One more set of tunes from Marilyn and
One
Dave.
more set of two?
Right. Yay.
Yeah.
But this is
Yeah, give us the final one.
Okay.
Wanted to
Okay, then 3 sets of jigs.
Some jigs.
First
yeah.
one's the Holly Bush, and the second one is Condon's Frolics, and the last one is Patsy Geary. So let's just play it. All right.
Okay.
I'm going to unmute Rob and Leith. Make them bigger.
Yeah, that's nice
There you
job,
go.
guys. Yeah.
Well, I think we're done, aren't we?
Yeah,
I
right.
think
I think
we're
so.
done.
I think that was
But it's been such fun playing
Yeah,
for people and
thanks.
playing.
Yeah.
The only downside is I want to go over to Marilyn Dave's
I
house,
know,
which
I
is
want
two
a
doors
jam
over, and
session
play
that's
tunes
just
with
like
them. But
Yeah.
we're not
I
doing that
think
anymore.
I could hear you out our window.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
And I'm just down the road too. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah,
We're all
on
practically on
Trinity.
the same.
I'll bring my bar on. Yeah.
Great.
Sounds good to me.
Soon. Yes.
I would say this is a pretty good neighborhood, don't you think?
It's a
Fabulous.
good
Great neighborhood.
Music,
And
art. Yeah, it's
I
fantastic.
wish I could have heard everyone in all the lovely people in the audience. That's the only thing. I know that there's some lovely people. I see some really familiar names that
There's
people
been
I haven't seen for a while, and it would be lovely to hear you.
There's
But
been lots of chat actually about various
yeah,
things, people raving about Philomena's stories and a variety of other things. So it's been really nice to watch the chat. And make sure everybody gives lots of feedback to this event because I think we could do this easily,
Again,
every
yeah.
year, a couple of times a year.
maybe next year we could do it in the same room. We could all be in like the same.
I think that would be way more fun.
That would be
But
nice.
great.
But this is pretty good.
This is good.
Yeah, second best thing. So
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much,
Well,
everybody. Marilyn and Dave and Philomena, Rob, and
Thank
Leith.
you. Thank you all for coming.
Yeah, thank you
Yay.
for listening. Thank you, everyone.
Don't
Thank you,
forget, there's
everybody.
the dance
Dance
party in the living room.
Dance party in the living room if you want to join that.
Okay.
Okay, I think we
Infinite
leave
music
this
and
room and go.
stories.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
I'm
Bye.
gonna leave this room now. Thanks so much,
Okay.
everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye,
Take
everyone.
care.
Thank
Stay
you for
safe.
coming. Woo-hoo.